Good morning, everyone. This is Eloisa Paloyo, and I will lead the first half of the discussion regarding the impact of business on the community, and we will be focusing on what we call market failure. We are now in Module 14, so can I have your full attention as we tackle our today's topic? Pero bago tayo dumako dyan, gusto ko lang malaman if the class still remembers the free market economy. Did we happen to discuss the free market before? Kindly raise your hand if naaalala nyo pa. Okay, thank you. So, as a brief review from our past lesson, ang free market, from the word itself, ito ay malayang pamilihan na kung saan ang paraan ng pagpapatakbo ng mga negosyo at ang mga pamamaraan na ginagamit para makapag-produce ng mga produkto at mag-provide ng mga serbisyo ay hinihimok ng demand ng consumer sa halip na isang sentral na pamahalaan. Ganun din sa antas ng supply. So basically, malaya ang mga business owners na ipagbili yung mga produkto or serbisyo nila at any price they consider appropriate, with little to no government restriction or legislation at all. Take note that here the laws and forces of supply and demand are free from any intervention by the government or other authorities. Now, come to think of it, this complete economic freedom is the key feature of this system. Kaya it's also one of the main reasons why there are few true free market economy examples globally. The closest country to have or pinakamalapit sa free market economy, the ideal state are only Singapore and Hong Kong. Now let's proceed. Contrary to what the name implies, market failure does not describe inherent imperfections in the market economy. Ibig sabihin, it's also possible na magkaroon ng market failure outside the market economy. Like, there can be market failures in government projects or activity too. So the question here is, does the free market ever fail to meet the society's needs? What do you think, class? As part of society, you should have an answer on your mind. From any standpoint or perspective, there's always failure. Thus, there is market failure. Once again, yes, it actually exists. But first, ano nga ba ang market failure? Please take a look at your screens and read the text silently. So, as you read, market failure is considered as an economic situation defined by an inefficient distribution of goods and services in the free market. What do we mean by the word inefficient? It simply implies na hindi sapat ang allocation o pagbabahagi ng goods and services na kung saan the free market system fails to satisfy society's wants. It also says here that prior to market failure, the supply and demand within the market do not produce quantities of goods where the price reflects the marginal benefit of consumption. The imbalance causes allocative inefficiency, which is the over or under consumption of the good. Class, do you still remember how the law of demand and supply works? Alright, so what we've learned before, the law of demand states that at a higher price, consumers will demand a lower quantity of a good. Whereas the law of supply says that at higher prices, sellers will supply more of an economic good. The thing is, whenever supply and demand don't match, dito nagkakaroon ng imbalance tulad ng shortage at surplus sa supply at demand na pinag-aralan na natin before. And this imbalance drives the allocative inefficiency na nabanggit ko rin kanina. So, overall, this could lead to market failure. We can also say that private markets do not efficiently bring about the allocation of resources. Situationally, this happens like, let's say, ikaw as a consumer, You wanted to buy a certain product or service of another region or even from another country. Given na super layo ng distance nila sa'yo, tapos kailangan mo na yung good or service na yon the next day. In short, merong gap na humaharang para mabili or makuha mo yung gusto mo. Let's say, for example, yung mga taga Ilocos, they happen to crave for pili. Alam niyo yun, yung nuts. Which is all the way from Bicol. Ang layo nga ng both region sa isa't isa. Dulot-dulo pa ng Luzon. See? Evidently, may conflict talaga sa allocation ng goods. And you can consider this as a basic example of market failure. Can you follow? If yes, then please react thumbs up so that I can know that you guys understood what I've said earlier. Good, let's continue. Moreover, the market systems contributes to market failure. Yun nga, sinasabi dito na malaking factor yung market systems or market structure sa pagkakaroon ng market failure. Next, it is not possible for markets to be perfect. Impossible siya on the grounds that mayroon ngang mga inefficient producers at iba pa na we will tackle later on. But before we move on to that, we have here the definition of externality. What do we mean by externality, everyone? Nakalagay dyan that an externality is an effect on a third party which is caused by the production or consumption of a good and service. Basically, ang externality ay yung indirect cost or benefit. Kumbaga, it's either good or bad sa isang uninvolved third party gawa ng actions taken by other party or parties. Again, to put it simply, externalities occur when producing or consuming a good or service causes an impact on third parties that are not directly related to the transaction. Okay? Para mas maintindihan pa natin why market failure actually happens, we have to take a look at the following reasons for market failure. First on the list are the positive and negative externalities. Please silently read the description sa number 1. I won't read it out loud anymore. So, well, sabi ko nga kanina, diba? It's either good or bad. In other terms, externalities can either be positive or negative. And they can also occur from production or consumption. The thing is, when consuming or producing a good or service causes a benefit to a third party, it is classified as positive externality. A good example for this is education. Studying benefits us because we will gain knowledge on a certain topic. Diba? Basic education. Learning how to read and write at school benefits society as a whole kasi it helps us to communicate more effectively. So, kung walang edukasyon, hindi tayo makakapagbasa ngayon. Hindi tayo magkakaintindihan. Wala kayong maayos na komunikasyon at all. Let's say, like you guys, for every article or post you read, you are the third party that benefits from that individual's education. Do you get it? Sa kabilang banda naman, when consuming or producing causes a cost to a third party, we call it negative externality. Madalas, it causes social costs. The given example in our module is smoking. Alam naman natin no, na the effects of smoking are widely known as it poses higher risk of cancer. Hindi lang sa taong nagsisigarilyo, damay rin pati yung mga nakakalanghap ng usok galing sa nagsisigarilyo. Mas malala pa nga, 'di ba, yung maaaring maging epekto nun sa kalusugan ng mga nakakalanghap. And they're what we call the victims of secondhand smoke. Like, if you live in a household where someone smokes, miyembro ng pamilya nyo, hindi malayong mangyaring makakuha ka ng sakit or kung may asthma ka, it could trigger or worsen your asthma. See? You become a third party that suffers dahil sa kagagawa ng iba. So, that's it. Next, for the number 2, we have here the environmental concerns. It causes market failure in a way where economic activities negatively impact the environment. Observe how our demand for environmental amenities is unlimited. Ano ba ang main source of energy natin? Like electricity and oil. Diba it comes from fossil fuels? And fossil fuels are known as non-renewable resources, which means limited lang ang supply nito at hindi rin agad bumabalik o napapalitan. Unlike kung gano'n natin to kabilis makonsume. At ito pa, if we abuse the consumption of these non-renewable resources, we will face environmental consequences like global warming. Kaya ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng shortage sa supply ng natural gas at oil to the point that it heightens the prices of these commodities. Remember, limited resources prevent meeting all desires. Thus, it fails to allocate the goods efficiently, which most likely results in market failure. Kaya nakalagay dyan, we should put considerations in sustainable development. We could do this if we start to invest in ethical practices. While tayo naman as a consumer, dapat maging vigilant tayo sa paggamit ng resources natin. Conservation is a must, lalo na ngayong palala yung state ng kapaligiran natin. Okay, so let's proceed to number 3. Lack of public goods. It is one of the causes of market failure. The public goods are commodities or services that benefit all members of society and which are often provided for free through public taxation. It also says here that public goods are the opposite of private goods, which are inherently scarce and are paid for separately by individuals. Magkasalungat sila kasi private goods is produced by a privately owned business, samantala ang public goods ay usually provided yan ng government. Meanwhile, public goods are open or available to all people since it is labeled as public, no? Everyone are entitled to benefit from the good, with or without paying for it. Ang pinaka-applicable example para rito ay ang national security. If you're wondering how this works as an public good, isipin mo na lang, nagbabayad tayo ng tax sa gobyerno. At ang tax na ito ay ginagamit ng gobyerno bilang pondo sa pagpapalakas ng depensa ng bansa from foreign and domestic threats. We all benefit from this government service. We indirectly favor it through our tax. While kahit yung mga hindi nagbabayad ng tax ay mabibigyan pa rin ng protection. Now, the issue connected with this is the free rider problem. Alam ko na nabanggit na to before ni Ma'am Varias. Ano nga pa to? It is a case involving individuals with an incentive to use good without contributing towards cost. In other words, those who do not pay taxes are likely getting a free ride on the income generated by those who do pay them. Sabi pa rito na this is similar to how subway turnstile jumpers operate daw. Pero kung locally, ang magandang example ay yung mga jumpers sa kuryente na karaniwang makikita sa mga slum areas like Tondo. Next, the underproduction of merit goods. A merit good is a private good that society believes is underconsumed, often with positive externalities. For example, education, healthcare, and sports centers. So we can say that merit goods are also beneficial to the society that provide positive externalities. However, kung ang private sector ang mag-handle halos lahat nito, may chance na magkaroon ng underconsumption. Simply because consumers has an insufficient purchasing power. Wala silang kakayahan gumastos ng lampas sa budget nila. Especially knowing na hindi kamurahan ang presyo ng mga privately owned products or services. Gaya ng private schools. Parents won't push to make their children study in a private school with an expensive tuition kung walang-wala talaga. Meron namang public school. So, dun na lang nila i-enroll yung anak nila. kaya naman kasing tumbasan ng public school yung quality ng edukasyon na meron o binibigay ng private school. Although may mga differences pa rin talaga sa other benefits na binibigay ng private school compared sa public school. Now, let's see the number 5, which is the overprovision of goods. A demerit good is a private good that society believes is overconsumed, often with negative externalities naman, such as cigarettes, alcohol, and prostitution. Malinaw naman siguro na demerit goods are those that are harmful for the society. It is already proven na yung mga demerit goods na yan, yung sigarilyo tsaka alak, is mostly overproduced dahil mataas ang demand sa kanila compared sa merit goods. Markets may also fail to control the manufacture and sale of goods like cigarettes and alcohol, which have less merit than consumers perceive. And this imbalance brings about market failure. Do you understand? Okay. Finally, we are in the last part of the list of the reasons why market failure exists. And that is the abuse of monopoly power. You must already know what monopoly is, but for the sake of the discussion, it is when a single seller dominates the market. Like Meralco, for example, Meralco yun. Remember, monopolies are considered as an imperfect market. Sabi pa rito, imperfect markets restrict output in an attempt to maximize profit. Isa itong sitwasyon na kung saan customer lacks bargaining power because the price is set by the seller himself. Lack of bargaining power is another cause of market failure. This market failure causes imperfect markets, which restrict output to maximize profit because one firm can control the market and can set higher prices. To sum it up, market failure is the state in which an equilibrium condition does not exist. This occurs when there is an inefficient allocation of resources in free market. Market failure can occur due to a variety of reasons such as positive and negative externalities, environmental concerns, lack of public goods, the underproduction and overprovision of merit goods, and the abuse of monopoly power. That's all. Thank you for listening to my part. But hold on there, we're not yet over. We will continue the last part of the discussion with Rochella.